File your application, go to the US, get your life going, open any company you wish, work for any company you wish, and your green card will come through while you wait in the US. File now, move now. I am Shai Zamanian, a US licensed attorney with over a decade of experience specializing in the EB-5 immigration program. As the CEO of the American Legal Center, I have led the processing of over 500 green cards for families from Dubai and the GCC. We've raised over $50 million in capital for US-based EB-5 projects and filed the highest number of EB-5 applications in the region. My passion for EB-5 law comes from a commitment to simplifying the US immigration process, and I remain focused on delivering expert guidance to families navigating this journey. I'm Shai Zamanian, founder of the American Legal Center. I'm going to act as your EB-5 guru, curating the best content of EB-5 so you don't have to spend time scouring the internet looking for that. I'm going to introduce you to all the established players in the EB-5 game and why they're important. I'll help you analyze, ask all the important questions about the EB-5 process so you have actionable takeaways to apply it to your EB-5 visa journey. Our offices are based in downtown Dubai. We are a team of US licensed lawyers and are your active guides through the EB-5 process. We help you gather all your documents for your application, find the best projects to invest in, and coordinate your filing with Washington, D.C. We have filed the most EB-5 applications from the region and have the experience and breadth of knowledge to ensure your success. Now let's get started. So it all starts here. The very first episode of EB-5 Unplugged. This is the start of your new journey through the EB-5 visa, which is also known as the Golden Visa to the US. I will be your host through this active guide. My name is Shai Zamanian. I'm the founder of the American Legal Center, and I'm an expert on the EB-5 program as I've been practicing within this space for over a decade. So let's get started. So what is the EB-5 program? So it's a program instituted by Congress over 30 years ago. In fact, Biden was a part of Congress when the program was first enacted. And it wanted to promote investment into the US economy and to reward foreigners that make the investment and grant them an expedited path to the US with this golden visa. So again, just a little bit about ourselves though. We're a team of US licensed lawyers. We're based in downtown Dubai. We have filed the most EB-5 applications within the region. In June of 2021, we actually filed 6% of all global applications based on the US government numbers that was listed on their website. We've been published by all major publications, including the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Bloomberg, and all the likes. So Google is our friend. If you want to know more about us, definitely Google us because it's always important to know who's giving you the information and whether they're credible or not. The program, as we've discussed, was established in 1990 and requires an $800,000 investment. And the question is, what do you ultimately get? It's called a green card, which makes you into a US person. What's the difference between a green card and for someone that has a US passport, let's just say? There aren't that many differences with a green card. There's only 3 limitations. You can't vote in a national election, you can't work for the FBI, and you don't have a passport yet. But the good news is you're on your way to it. After 5 years of holding your green card, you can ultimately then trade it in and take on the nationality, US citizenship, and ultimately that coveted US passport. The program has been in existence for over 30 years. However, working with stakeholders within the industry, we helped to bring a lot of changes. And Congress has brought those changes in 2022. 3 main things for you to remember with the changes that have happened towards the program is that there was a reauthorization extension so that the program is existence until around the end of 2027. So if you file your application, you're grandfathered in. You don't have to worry about the program closing. And so for now, we're happy to say the program is alive. You can move to the US immediately. There is a program where you can get work authorization and your travel papers and remain in the US while you wait for your green card to be processed. So you can file now, move now. And we'll talk more about that in future episodes. There's greater security measures when it comes to the investments that you make into the US. Not every investment will count for an EB-5 visa. There are certain government pre-approved projects where you can invest your money, they can sponsor you in a sense, and help you get through the process in getting your EB-5 visa. Now, those investments are facing greater scrutiny. They have to have more transparency when it comes to their financials. There will be spot checks where Washington, D.C. is now authorized to travel and check on these projects. And so there's a lot of new security measures when monitoring these projects, and all of these are to the benefit of you, the future investor. So a lot of great changes came about. So why do people file for the EB-5 visa? Want to take a few minutes to talk about that. Out of our offices in downtown Dubai, I would say about a solid 80% of families that look for this program are doing it for the future benefit of the kids. One of the greatest benefits are of that of access to education. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about how you can unlock the benefits to education with this program, with this visa. So when you become a US person, there's a lot of benefits that are then rewarded to you. For a lot of universities, you have access to lower tuition costs. You have, for some programs, increased acceptance rates, access to federal grants and money. This is huge. And then there's obviously paid internships. So let's talk about my experiences. So when my family moved to the US, we were green card holders. I spent primary school, middle school, high school in the public schools, which obviously the US government pays for. There are no tuition costs associated with that. So my parents were not out of pocket. It was a wonderful springboard for me to continue my education off to the better universities. When I was ready to go off to university, I applied to two schools, UCLA and Berkeley. Got into my dream school at UCLA. And there, my tuition costs were a fraction of what international students paid. I know it was a long time ago, but at the time I paid about $2,500 per semester, whereas international students were paying many times more than that. Because UCLA is funded, and a lot of their programs are funded by taxpayer dollars of the state of California, they have the requirement to look within the state before they look to international students. So being in that state, being a US person, I had a greater chance of being accepted, which I'm thankful for. And so UCLA is one of the schools, for example, that will accept students from the state before they then look abroad. So again, you're getting increased acceptance rates. You have access to federal grants and scholarships. This is huge. So the US government, or the US society as a whole, has a national policy to allow access to education regardless if the student's parents can pay for it or not. So wouldn't it be upsetting if someone had the grades to get into Princeton, but their parents couldn't afford to pay? Because of that notion and that policy, there is the ability for, when you do have a green card, for you to have a lot of your costs associated with tuition, housing, books, transportation. A lot of that the US government helps to pay for. So parents, again, are not out of pocket for the educational expenses for their kids. So the investment of $800,000 for the EB-5 visa sounds like a lot, but if you actually calculate what it costs to send a kid off to school, you can see that even with one child, the program pays itself off. Also, when you're in schools, you don't have the ability to work, have paid internships. A lot of these kids are looking off to go to better graduate schools, maybe medical schools. You need to build a resume to then be able to apply out to these better graduate schools. And when you have a green card, you can have part-time jobs, summer jobs, internships, all that good stuff, whereas international students are left outside that. If you're thinking about sending your kids off to the US for educational purposes, do not think twice. Do the EB-5 visa for the family. Help them get into the better schools. They would have access to then pay for their schooling and then be able to go off to work and have jobs as they study. There's no better way other than this to do it. Let's talk about the requirements of the program. So when you file for your EB-5 Golden Visa, there's really only three requirements. There's a capital investment of $800,000 that you must invest. That is a government requirement. That investment must create 10 jobs. Specifically, a lot of this is again done through government pre-approved projects that you would invest in that would have a minimum capital investment amount of $800,000, and that would help you create the 10 jobs as required for this program. And the most important thing, the reason why you would get approved or denied, is whether you can prove up a lawful source of funds. So that's what our offices do here. We help you gather your documents. We look over your documents before you sign any agreements or before you pay any money. We will tell you based on your documents whether you're going to get an approval or not. I've been doing this for over 10 years and I know what Washington, D.C. is looking for to get you your approval. So your approval really pivots on whether you can prove up your lawful source of funds. The timeline generally is, you file your application now. Your approval, so there's a range to this, but I would say on average going forward, as now we're seeing applications under $800,000 investment, we're seeing the approvals come in about, I would say, 18 months. I've seen some sooner than that. I've seen some presumably will be longer than that. But your settled expectation should be to get your approval in 18 months. And that would be for yourself, your spouse, and all children under the ages of 21. So the entire family would then be rewarded with your investment of $800,000. The good news is you don't have to make the full investment up front. With us, for many years, we've done partial payment strategies where you invest, for example, $200,000 now, the remainder later through a payment plan option. And we would file your application with $200,000, and then the rest of the payments would be due at a later time. They get approved, no problem with it. If you have an experienced team, then they would be able to guide you through that. And that's one thing that our offices does, is help with clients to do partial payments. There is a new program, as discussed earlier, which is called concurrent filings, meaning you can file your application at $200,000 now. The remainder would be due later, but nevertheless, you can file your application with $200,000, move to the US on a visit visa, and you can have your work authorization and travel papers while you remain in the US and as you wait for your green card to be processed. So file your application, go to the US, get your life going, open any company you wish, or work for any company you wish, and your green card will come through while you wait in the US. Kids can go to school, you can have a piece of the American pie, and not necessarily have to wait for a lengthy approval time. File now, move now. So when you invest $800,000, as discussed, you will be investing in pre-approved government projects, and they will do, so it's a passive investment. You don't have to do anything. You just make your investment, and the project itself will do the various government reporting necessary for you to then get your approval. And this is an important part because there are many, many projects out there in the US that perhaps fit this criteria that you can invest in. Be super careful, guys, okay? That you have to be able to ask the right questions when you pick the right group to get married with. This is a 5-year process, and picking the right project and the group to host your money is integral. I've seen it all. I know who the better players are. I know who's doing good work and who's not. Give me the opportunity to help you pick the right project. I essentially work with the top groups that have a track record of excellence in that they finish their projects, they have shown evidence of repaying people back on time, and they want to remain as the established players as they have a pipeline of projects in 2026, 2027, and beyond. They want to remain the better groups, and for that reason, they will keep that track record and ultimately will then keep you happy. There are so many different things that you would have to look at when trying to decide the right project. So with us out of our offices in Dubai, every week there's a new project that lands on my desk for review. Obviously, developers in the US, they want access to investors. They want us to refer them investors. So I've seen it all. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I can help you get situated with the better projects. I can help you gather your documents. I can help you go through a path that has been proven to work and that ultimately you'll be happy. As long as you're happy, we're happy. If you've got anxieties, you're coming to our offices or you're calling me up. And so I need you to have lower anxiety while we go through this process and then to ultimately remain happy. As you continue to watch the rest of this podcast series, you're going to meet really interesting people that have made themselves known within the EB-5 industry. They are lawyers and they're developers and they're stakeholders and policymakers. So over the years, as working as a prominent person in EB-5, I've come across and met some of the most interesting people within the industry. I've invited them here and they come all the way from the US and other parts of the world to come meet with us and to join us on EB-5 Unplugged. Keep in contact with me if you have questions. Call, email, or write. We would love to hear from you. I hope this gives you a good foundation of what EB-5 is about, and then off to the next episode. We'll see you soon.